In this review, I'll be checking out the CarPlay to HDMI adapter from CarlinKit. This is a simple adapter that we're starting to see recently. You can connect a HDMI device, be it a Fire Stick or Google Chrome or Roku streaming box, to the device and have this content played on your CarPlay display. So this basically bypasses all the kind of Android AI boxes and the apps that run on them. If you have everything set up whilst you're traveling in this little Roku or Fire Stick device, you can simply plug it into here and control it using the remote controls from the actual streaming device itself. It doesn't do wireless CarPlay or Android Auto, and it will only work on CarPlay only car systems. So that's basically everything you need to know from this adapter. Let's check out what's inside the box. Okay, so here's what you get inside the box. You get a user manual that tells you how to run it, connects everything to it, as well as the over-air updates to update the firmware on the device. You have the CarPlay to HDMI adapter itself with its tethered lead of roughly just under 30 centimeters. And you also have a USB-A to USB-C adapter to basically convert its tethered power cable into a USB-C one for more modern CarPlay ports. Looking over the adapter then, it's basically slightly slimmer than their 4.0 and 5.0 wireless CarPlay adapters. This time, however, everything is now tethered to this cable. It's got a fairly decent length to get to where it needs to be, as well as allow you to plug in your TV streaming box to the HDMI adapter here. Now, there is no additional USB ports to do any updating or supply extra power to the devices. So you do need a separate power connection for the Fire Stick or Google Chromecast, which do need a separate power source in order to operate. So basically you simply connect this end into your CarPlay port, and then you connect your games console, your TV streaming device, karaoke machine, DVD player, or set-top box. Anything that basically uses HDMI can be plugged into here and have its output presented onto your CarPlay display. Okay, so let's jump in the car, connect this up and see what devices we can plug into this HDMI port. So I'll see you over there. Right, so we're in the Golf and we're going to test out the HDMI to CarPlay adapter here from CarlinKit. We're going to plug the USB-A end into the CarPlay port and see how quickly it boots up into the main menu. Plugging it in now. Cool. So we're in about 9 seconds into the main menu interface. So at the moment, you just got a graphic here. Nothing is interactable. You've got two options here. The left-hand one will take you back to the car system. And you've got this cog icon here, which then allows you to adjust the language between Chinese and English. Video settings doesn't seem to work, at least on my system. HDMI sound, obviously you want that on. You can do the online upgrade by connecting it to Wi-Fi and doing an upgrade over a internet connection. And you can learn about the device and the firmware version that it's currently running. That's basically it on the settings side of things. It's a little bit laggy on this end, so hopefully that doesn't transfer over to the video stream. But let's first get things plugged into it. So we're going to go back to the main menu. So we're back into the main menu now. And I've got two things with me today that we'll be browsing or using. We've got the Amazon Fire Stick 4K. This is their latest version, version 2. And then we've got the latest Google Chromecast 4K edition as well. So we're going to be plugging both of these in and testing them out in this video. But first of all, let's go with the Fire Stick. The Fire Stick will need power. It won't get the power from the HDMI socket. So we first plug this in, and not really much is going to happen once this is plugged into the box here. We will have to give it a power connection. So we've got the Fire Stick cable here. We're going to plug this end into the Fire Stick, and this end is going to go into a 12-volt adapter that I've got in the car. You could use a battery bank if you've got one that's big enough in capacity to last the length of what you might want to be using it for, should the 12-volt adapter not be nearby to you. So we're going to plug this micro USB port into the side there, and the Amazon Fire Stick should now fire up, which it does, onto the car's display. We're going to hide this now down into the cubby hole. So at the moment we've got quite a lot of wires, and stay tuned to my channel. I've got another product from CarlinKit coming soon, should you have a Fire TV stick to use with it. Now this device can accept any HDMI source pretty much. You can have a console, DVD player, karaoke machine they say, as well as all the streaming devices such as the Fire TV stick, Chromecast, Roku, and NVIDIA Shield, I guess you could use that too. So now we're into the main menu system of the Fire Stick. So we're going to fire up our remote. None of this is touchable, unfortunately. You will have to use the remote control that comes with the device or controller, such as a gamepad for a console or a remote control if it was like a DVD player, for example. But now we're in the interface and we can go nuts and try out a few things. So we're going to try YouTube and test out the sync over the speakers. So I'd say that's roughly about 300 milliseconds delay, which is kind of like similar to the AI boxes in a way. A very good AI box, that is. Some are a lot worse. That's obviously the delay of the HDMI and the display feed versus the going through the speaker system in the car and the delay that the speaker emits the sound. So that's quite a common trait, at least in my vehicle. Your experience might vary. But the main thing is lip syncing. So let's just try a video of me talking and we can then compare it and see if it actually is a bit of a deal breaker or not, that delay. So you can browse all the YouTube videos you like or anything else that comes on your Amazon Fire Stick or streaming device that you have plugged into it. We're going to fire up some audio just so you can see the lip sync difference.
Price, but in terms of performance, you honestly can't get any better than this, and obviously the previous one that we've looked at as well. They're both using the same hardware. If you can find the other one cheaper, then you're not really going to miss out. If you do look at the dongle in your car interior, it does stick out and you want it to look nice, then
that sounds good to me. I think that little 300-ish max millisecond delay is really negligible when you actually see or watch something on YouTube at least. Now we can just quickly check on the quality of what it actually is outputting. So that's 1080p 60. That is obviously the limit of my videos that I actually have. So we'll try a 4K 60 and see what happens with that. 4K 60 HDR.
Getting that from YouTube.
So we'll play this 4K 60 HDR and make sure it actually is on 4K. So it won't output anything less or more than that, unfortunately. But most CarPlay displays aren't really going to be that as high resolution, so you're not really going to lose out with the screen real estate anyway because of the density of this display. So overall, I think that's actually quite a nice looking quality of video there. Happy days. So let's check out some other apps. Let's try Netflix and the lip syncing in Netflix. And obviously you will need to create a internet connection for these boxes. I'm at home at the moment, so you're gonna be within reach of my Wi-Fi, but you will have to supply the adapter with a personal hotspot from your phone, for example, to whatever streaming device that you have connected to it, which is very simple, and they're all able to connect to a phone in order to get its internet connection. But you will need that if you're going to be watching videos away from a Wi-Fi router, for example. So we're into Netflix now. Everything works lovely and buttery smooth because it's literally just coming from the Fire TV stick. We'll try a lip sync section of a bit of content.
The overtake on Valtteri created this spark and this tension between the two of us.
That was committed, it was brave, it was brilliant!
I thought, you know.
Okay, that sounds good. Lip sync's totally fine on Netflix. So I think as HDMI goes, you're really not going to have any problems with the delay of sorts coming out your speakers. What I will say is that the quality of the camera that you're seeing of this feed is a little bit oversaturated. That is not the case on the display itself, just that the camera is quite oversaturating the quality of the picture there. So don't read into that too much. The actual quality of what you see on the display is totally fine. And you're not limited to videos with the Fire Stick. Obviously you can play games on the Fire Stick as well. So not only will you be able to play the available games that are on the platforms, you will be able to play things such as cloud gaming on it as well. So that's quite a good value add as well. And all the sound works totally fine. It looks good. And obviously you can use the remote control to play really badly. So obviously the experience of Android AI boxes is that you will probably have a little bit more hardware underneath the casing in order to get at much better experience in gaming in general. So if gaming is your thing, I would technically look for an AI box and not really go with this method, but you do have that ability should you have gaming on the device that you connect the HDMI box to. Obviously PlayStation and things like that, they're a little bit more power hungry, so you have to find a decent power source for that. Simply a USB cable power source is not going to be enough, so that is something that you might have to explore if you were to have more power hungry HDMI devices plugged into it. So that's the Fire Stick in a nutshell. Let's now switch over to Google Chromecast. So we're going to simply disconnect the Fire Stick, which is running a little bit toasty, and we're going to plug in the HDMI of the Google Chromecast. We're going to swap out the connection in favor of its USB-C connection. So we're going to connect now. So obviously this is going to be the boot up time of the Chromecast in general anyway. And that's us into the Google Chromecast. Now we're again with the Google Chromecast controller. You're in there nice and smoothly accessing all the content. Again, all the content is being downloaded from the router in the house, so everything's coming in very nice and fast. But again, you can get this connected to your phone should you be remote and wanting to access the content that way. We'll just quickly jump into YouTube again and just do another test. So let's fire up the Twitch test. Again, roughly in the same region, so that's just generally how the HDMI delay is between the display feed and the car speakers emitting the sound. So that is just my general setup. I really don't think that can be improved. So that sounds and looks good. We'll do a audio sync test as well. I'll go back a bit.
It's probably level pegging with most other wireless adapters at the moment in terms of price, but in terms of performance, you honestly can't get any better than this, and obviously the previous one that we've looked at as well. They're both using the same.
So overall there, you can see the quality is actually quite decent, and it mirrors the Fire Stick experience, so no real change there in terms of the connection and the quality difference between the two dongles that are attached to it. Let's see if we can feed it a higher resolution on this display with the Chromecast. Here we can, so the Fire Stick couldn't, even though it's a 4K Fire Stick. And that does seem to play, but obviously with loads of buffering because of the 4K stream. Yeah, does seem to struggle there. So not something I'd recommend. Let's just quickly try Netflix.
The overtake unadulterated created this spark and this tension between the two of us.
That was committed, it was brave, it was brilliant!
Okay, that sounds good to me. I think the audio is a little bit better with the Chromecast, but generally fine. Again, as I said before, the camera's not capturing the contrast that well, so I don't take that into account. It looks great on the display itself. So that's basically the Chromecast and the Fire Stick connected to the HDMI to CarPlay adapter from CarlinKit. Overall, I think it's a decent solution that we've seen recently. Obviously, it is emitting the USB-A port when you compare it to the other device that we've seen on this channel, but honestly that USB never really could power an adapter anyway, so you still have to plug it into a 12-volt adapter in order to give the streaming box a power source. It's a great way to get a HDMI device onto your CarPlay display without any hiccups or niggles. It seems to handle any copy protection from these particular devices. Now, things like an Apple TV obviously needs a mains connection. So obviously you will have to make a connection to that mains adapter somehow, and the same for consoles as well. So the CarlinKit HDMI to CarPlay adapter retails for $99.99. And you can get a $30 coupon at the moment on Amazon, which obviously brings it down to $69.99. That's more than a wireless adapter, and the fact that this doesn't actually do wireless CarPlay or Android Auto from that adapter as well is a little bit of a miss opportunity there for CarlinKit, and maybe we might see that again in the future. But if you are thinking of connecting an HDMI device to a CarPlay display, use the remote controls and be done with anything like wireless CarPlay and other Android apps. If you were to try and use a AI box, for example, then this is actually not a bad solution at a relatively decent price. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. If it has, give us a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions about the HDMI adapter from CarlinKit, and I'll do my best to answer them. You can support the channel by sending us a super thanks along with your comment or question. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.